Namaste. I want to welcome a very interesting group today. These are the senior leaders of the Hindu Student Council, which is an organization of Hindu students across the US in many campuses. And they are here in our home. Welcome you guys, and we'll have an evening of discussions, question answers, brainstorms, and just celebration of your 30 years. This is the 30th year of HSC. It's also the 25th year of Infinity Foundation. So you guys are 5 years older than Infinity Foundation. I want to ask Arnav to please, he's the president of HSC, to tell us a little bit about your organization.
So namaste Rajiv ji, and thank you for welcoming us all into your home. So Hindu Students Council is a organization in North America targeted at Hindu youth in this country, whether it's the USA or Canada, primarily Hindu students. And a lot of the work that we do, besides just the practice of Hinduism, is the advocacy and learning how to become ambassadors of our Hindu tradition. And whether it's directly or indirectly for some of us, your work has obviously been very instrumental in that. So, you know, a lot of us here that know your work are very excited to meet you and get to hear from you in person. And then our hope is that some of the next generation of leaders that might not have gotten a chance to see your work as closely get a chance to do that tonight.
Wonderful. So why don't we do this? We'll go around this way, and everybody just give your name, which college you are from, and what you're studying. Should we start with you?
My name is ARUSHI RAMAKA. I'm actually a sophomore at Montgomery High School right now, and I'm planning to start like a high school chapter here, so high school students can also join Hindu college students in advocacy and Dharma.
Namaste Rajiv ji. Namaste everyone. My name is Nikunj Trivedi. I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Hindu Students Council, and it's been a pleasure working with Rajiv ji for all these years. You've had a great influence on me personally, and then as Arnav said, on HSC as well. So we really thank you for all your work and making us stronger intellectual Kshatriyas.
Namaste everyone. My name is BHUVANESH PRABAKAR, and I am a sophomore at Bridgewater Raritan High School, trying to start up an HSC chapter there to continue the line of advocacy that they have been doing.
Namaste, my name is KIRAN RAJKUMAR. I'm a junior at the University of South Florida. I plan to go to law school in a few years, and I am currently the president of the chapter at my university.
Namaste everyone, my name is EKTA BHAGIA, and I go to New York Institute of Technology, and I'm majoring in communication arts. I'm doing my master's right now.
Namaste everyone, my name is ADITI Bhatia. I'm a second year PhD student at the University of Toronto in the Faculty of Information. I'm trying to take care of HSC chapters in Canada, and I'm also on the executive board for the leadership team.
Namaste, my name is Andrew LATCHMAN. I am a senior mechanical engineering major at the University of Maryland College Park, and I'm the treasurer for the Hindu Student Council chapter there.
Namaste, my name is Shohini Sharkar, and I'm currently serving as the treasurer on the Board of Trustees, and I graduated from Georgetown School of Foreign Service and Yale School of Public Health.
Namaste, my name is Uday Kaluri. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm an alumni in software engineering.
Namaste everyone, my name is Travis Latchman. I went to Johns Hopkins University and studied electrical engineering. And during my time there I was an interfaith council representative.
Namaste everyone, my name is SUBHODEEP CHAKRABARTY, and I am representing the Rutgers University Hindu Student Council. I'm the senior representative. I'm grateful that Rutgers created that position for me to have a position on the board, and I hope to continue working with them to kind of build our chapter a little bit more, get it more known on campus, and we're trying to get more students to join and do some more work. A big event that we do is Holi, and a lot of people know of HSC because of that. So that's one of our staple events.
Namaste everyone. My name is SINDHU BANERJEE. I'm studying biomedical engineering at Johns Hopkins University, and I'm acting as the community liaison for Hindu Students Council.
Namaste, everyone. I'm Patrice Williams. I go to the University of Maryland Global Campus in Baltimore. Well, it's a universal campus, and I study cybersecurity management and policy.
Namaste, everyone. I'm Yuri Altman from Baltimore, Maryland. I graduated from University of Maryland, Baltimore County back in 2012, and this is my first year getting involved with the Hidden Student Council.
Namaste, I'm Maitri. I just graduated this May from Stony Brook University with a degree in biochemistry. I was the president there, and now I'm part of the executive team.
Namaste, my name is RAVI JAISHANKAR. I hail from Rutgers University, where I was a president of HSE. I became the president of the national team as well. Have worked very closely with Rajivji on certain projects as a volunteer, and have very fond memories of doing a lot of good work. Currently live in Colorado, living the ski bum life.
Namaste, everyone. My name is SAPNA Rajani. I graduated from Emory University in 2013. I studied global health, and then I got my MBA and Master's in Accounting from Northeastern in 2015. I was part of the Hindu Student Association while I was at Emory and Northeastern, and I served as the event coordinator.
Namaste, Rajivji and everybody else. My name is Parth Parihar. I'm currently a graduate student at Princeton University. I served as the president of HSC before Arnav, so passing the torch on. And it's always lovely to be in your house and in your studio.
Namaste, everyone. Namaste, Rajivji. I'm Rishabh Iyer. I'm a graduate of Cornell University, and I'm currently serving on HSC's National Leadership Team.
Namaste, everyone. Namaste, Rajivji. I am Riddhi Patel. I graduated from University of Illinois at Chicago in biology and psychology, and I have been involved with HSC ever since my college years, and I have been involved with national chapter after my graduation. I am the general secretary for the national team.
Namaste. My name is Arnab Kejriwal. I am a graduate of Washington University in St. Louis back in 2014. I've been with Hindu Students Council for about 4 years, and just recently got the torch from Parth Parihar as the new president.
Just to kind of get things started, I'll ask some questions, and then whoever wants can answer from your point of view. So but the first thing I want to find out is, what are some specific challenges facing Hindus in your campus? And in what ways are they different from other faiths? I mean, there are certain things that everybody faces, but what about Hinduism is unique, different as a challenge, and what are you doing about it, or what should be done about it?
So one of the things, as you know, from your own work, this is the field that you've been in for over 20 years now, is that Hinduism studies and Indic studies are not done from the Hindu perspective. They're not done from an emic perspective. And I think for students, this poses a unique challenge when they're in a college setting, in an academic setting, when their professors, when they take a Hinduism class, are not telling them the information that's actually accurate, and they're not telling them the information that they themselves learned from their heritage. So this is something that disconnects students from their heritage, and we've seen in places like Rutgers, which has a huge Hindu population, how that can manifest even in very virulent Hinduphobia. So that's one challenge that I see happening on campus. And as far as your second question, what Hindu Students Council can do to address it, I think one of the really unfortunate things that I've seen is that when there isn't a national organization in place that has a clear vision of what Hindu identity ought to be in the United States, that doesn't have a sense of self-respect and a knowledge and an appreciation of our traditions, that oftentimes, unfortunately, even these Hindu students, people who identify as being Hindu, can fall prey to the false propaganda that's being spread, basically about Hinduism, and themselves become people who are espousing that same Hinduphobia. So I think from our perspective as Hindu Students Council, we try to create an environment where students on campus can learn about their tradition, to try and appreciate their tradition from the emic perspective and learn about the issues, as Ardav mentioned, that are related specifically to advocacy against Hinduphobia. And I'm sure we can talk more about this issue at length as we go through the evening.
You know, what I discovered, and maybe you can tell me if it's still valid, is that Judaism is almost invariably taught by a rabbi. Christianity, you know, since there are more than 300 seminaries in this country and a total student population of about 50,000 across all of them combined, we have a very big one in Princeton also. So they're pumping out graduates who got master's degrees, PhDs, so they have the credentials to get an academic job. A Swami or a Sadhu or a Purohit or a Pandit in a temple who knows some rituals and who can give a pravachan and all that, he's not academically qualified to get a job. So no matter how much he knows, on the practical side, the point is that the university is not going to hire him. It's not a question of bias, it's a question of their policies. And so we haven't solved that problem. And I started by giving grants to non-Hindus, thinking that they'll fix the problem just because you pay them and give them money and all that, but that doesn't fix it. And even those who claim to be practicing, who are sort of in it but not quite in it, who've got a guru, who've gone somewhere, but they've done more like anthropology of the tradition rather than being seriously committed, they're going to fall apart whenever there is a complicated matter. So I found that there was no one speaking up for our tradition in the same way as for other traditions. Another problem I found is that a lot of our own people have gone so Hindu-phobic. Like I had these big debates with Vijay Prasad, who's also later turned to be a nice guy. We became friends also. But on the intellectual plane, he came from such a leftist, Marxist, anti-Hindu background that was what he was teaching. And because he's an Indian, he's got a Hindu name, and I'm not picking on him because there are hundreds of people like that, far worse. You know, the students think that this guy must be authoritative, but actually they're not. My role was to go to all these academic conferences and be a voice, sometimes a lone voice, and challenge it. And I found it's very effective because even if there's one person, on the face of it, they will say, I don't want to change, I'm right, you're wrong. But quietly they start adjusting because they know somebody's watching. So what you need from your national organization is constantly putting out petitions, constantly protesting, and having a public response so that it's a bit embarrassing for the person. Because if all it is a student who goes to the professor quietly and says, okay, this thing that you're teaching isn't quite right, here's a different position that you should also teach, it doesn't put enough pressure on them. But if there's a national organization and they take it up, also it's a bit removed, so the person in the class is not feeling under pressure, not being intimidated, because the person can say, this is what our national organization wants to do. I think that'll put some pressure. So maybe, have you guys tried any of that? So maybe somebody can tell us, what do you do when your teacher or somebody is saying something about your tradition, which is not your experience of it, and you are the practitioner, and they kind of poo-poo your knowledge, and what do you do about it?
So Rajivji, that's a great point. I think from a national perspective, what we have seen happening is that we have created some of these petitions. There was a petition against Audrey Truschke because she called Sri Rama a misogynistic pig and equated a innocuous-looking building in JNU as it was a swastika symbol, and then she took like the swastika and said some people associate this with hatred. So this like subtle and not so subtle association of Hinduism with hatred and all that stuff. So we have, started a petition. We did that. We have been, trying to figure out how to work with the university to address these issues and stuff because, as students will say, they find bullying on campuses. Their faith is constantly targeted as this crazy, bizarre, ritualistic, casteist faith. So I think from a national perspective, we have been working on those things. We are also raising public awareness that people in the community, the parents, these are like high school kids here, they're going to go to college, and do parents want their kids to become Hindu-phobic themselves, right? So parents need to be aware. Alumni who have graduated, they're donating money to the universities. Do they want those universities' funds to be misused in peddling Hindu-phobia? So we're raising all these things in the community, as well as with the university administration itself, because every faith, every minority community gets their own space on campuses, right? To talk about the atrocities that they faced, to talk about what their tradition is, save the Hindu tradition. And that's very unfortunate. So I'll let the other students talk about their experiences. Maybe Sindhu, you want to?
So, like you mentioned, regarding education for Hindus, I can speak only for Johns Hopkins University because that's my experience. We have Jewish studies and East Asian studies and Islamic studies, but no like Hindu studies program or Vedic studies program. And so what happens is, very recently, perhaps 1 month ago, there was a Stand with Kashmir event, which was, as I expected and as many of us expected, very biased towards a certain opinion. And so that was actually hosted by the International Studies program and the Islamic Studies program. So the Hindu studies, the Hindu voice was not represented at all. And so what I did and what some of the leadership team did was make sure that like Hindu, specifically Kashmiri Pandit voices were represented. For example, my roommate went and asked tough questions to the panelists that tried to present like a balanced voice. And so we very much resonate with the problem and have, like Nikunj ji said, come up with solutions holistically, comprehensively to try to solve them.
So when this happened, did you guys consider videotaping and putting up that video, letting it go viral? Because Infinity Foundation would be happy to consider setting up a series. Maybe once a month we could have some video that HSE has produced, and we would promote it. There could be a kind of an HSC, day of the week or some particular slot in our program where you give us whatever is going on in any campus that is noteworthy, and instead of us putting up a video we are producing, we'll just put up yours. So, for instance, when that happened, this Kashmir thing, and your roommate went and asked some questions, the point is that, maybe couple hundred people sitting there knew about, they participated, but these thousands and thousands of people all over the US probably never heard about it because it was not recorded, it was not broadcast, right? Yeah. So that would be a nice thing to do. By the way, his father, Kanchan, is a very dear friend of mine. We've known each other for 20 plus years, so wish him well.
Yeah, he sends his regards as well.
Yes, yes.
A few days ago, I was approached by a member of the community in Tampa, Florida, who asked me to host a candlelight vigil for the Kashmiri Pandit cleansing. And at first, I was hesitant to agree to host this because I understand it's a very controversial topic. But then I realized that being a Hindu advocate means that no matter how controversial a topic is, if you truly believe what you stand for, you'll be able to publicly voice your opinion. So it took me a few days to decide, and I deliberated with my peers, and we decided that even though there has been opinions presented by the Pakistani Student Association and the Muslim Student Association, no Hindu at my school has presented their opinion on the topic, and we're going to be the first ones to do that.
Kiran, can you maybe share what you said earlier? So USF is the newest chapter of HSC. Kiran herself we're very proud to have non-Indian Hindus as part of our platform as one of the few pan-Hindu groups in HSC, and while trying to start the chapter, you had told us something that was quite astonishing.
Well, when I first had the idea to start up a chapter of HSC at my school, this was in October of this year, I was rejected several times because there's a lack of knowledge on behalf of the university faculty and staff who fails to recognize there's a difference between an Indian identity and a Hindu identity. And being of Caribbean origin, I'm Guyanese and Trinidadian, a lot of people don't understand that Hinduism is a global religion. Not all Hindus are from India. So it is my objective to educate the students at my university where Hindus come from, because there are Hindus in over 150 countries over the world.
And the Caribbean Hindus are some of the most staunch Hindus in Queens and in Toronto. They have a special day, what's it called in Toronto? They made me the chief guest twice. Arrival Day or something. There's a special day every year when they celebrate some major event historically when they got freedom and they were able to come to North America and so on. And so I was there several times, and they do it in a very big way. So they are extremely staunch, I know that. Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to something we mentioned before about having like pundits and priests that are knowledgeable, but we don't have maybe per se people that have PhDs or other degrees like that. And that's not only a problem in terms of teaching Hinduism as a professor, but also in terms of establishing chaplaincies, which has been an issue at Stony Brook University. So a couple of years ago, me and the other students in Hindu Students Council there, we noticed that there's a prayer space for the Muslim students, Jewish students, Catholic students, but there was no such space for the Hindu students. And so we went to the Interfaith Center to figure out how we could get such a space. And one of the main requirements is to have a chaplain who has a degree in religious studies. And that has been extremely hard to find for Hinduism because of that reason that we were speaking of before.
You know, when the Europeans came to India, they were looking for, trying to map out the culture. One of the things was, to study the religion. So their idea was religion, they defined it as a physical building called the church they have to find. They have to find the one book. And they have to find a priest who's doing the religion while others are observing it. And he's sort of conducting it, others are observing it. But then it took them a long time to figure out that in the case of Hinduism, it's not one book, but like a whole library of books. It's not necessarily a building. You don't have to go anywhere. You could practice it in your private, home. You could do it anywhere you want. And it's not it's a do-it-yourself, so somebody else doesn't have to conduct it. You can just do everything on your own. So this business about, to qualify for a prayer room, you have to have a certified chaplain who will conduct it, right? I mean, it comes from that sort of mentality. Whereas you should be able to educate them or try to educate them that, we don't need a chaplain, we are self-worshipping, we are doing this ourselves. Whatever we are doing, we may have a satsang where we're just discussing amongst ourselves. We need a room for that. So you may want to try that. And the other thing I want to ask you is, what are the Hindu chaplains like? Are they all very good, or are they also just looking after their own job? Because I'm very disappointed with Princeton University. I mean, I'm very open about it. Vineet is a very nice guy, very decent guy, very good friend. He's come here many times to our house, and we get along very well. Privately, he's very nice. But publicly, he won't stick his neck out in front of the university critics of Hinduism. He won't take a stand which is contrarian to what they're saying, because he has a job. They pay very well, and he doesn't want to jeopardize it. The same happened in Duke University. I was a speaker there, and the lady who hosted me, her father started the main Hindu temple in Durham, and they're a very proud Hindu family. But she told me that she cannot take on some of the issues I have mentioned. She told me privately in the car. She said, that's because I'm competing for the job of Hindu chaplain. And Laurie Patton, who's the chair or something over there, is a Wendy Doniger student, and a very, knows that I'm sort of one of those critics. And so if she's seen too close to me, and she was even scared to be walking in with me, then she won't get this job. So it's this kind of pettiness, I should say, or maybe lack of courage. So even the people who are chaplains aren't necessarily sticking the neck out. So do you have any experiences of that where a Hindu chaplain is sort of doing his job, and Diwali is a very safe thing. You can call it Festival of Lights, and Holi you can say colors and secularize it and neutralize it, and there's nothing. But let's say there's a Kashmir controversy, and you want him to come out and give a lecture on history of what's going on. How many of them will be willing to do that? Do you have any comments on that?
So I want to touch on 2 points, Rajivji. First one is what Maitri was saying, and to your point of the chaplaincy itself. It's about money, ultimately. Because the other traditions, whether it's the local mosques, the synagogues, or the churches and stuff, they support the their particular organizations on campus, funneling money in so they can establish a chaplaincy program, and they don't have to worry about anybody else's money. So if public university gives money or not, it doesn't matter because they already have that, right? So money speaks a lot and there's a power behind it. So that then they're free to talk about a lot of the things here. So that's the one side of it. The second side of it, and I agree with you, most of the Hindu chaplains on campuses will not stick their neck out on some of these issues because they're considered political, controversial, or they don't themselves have knowledge on that. So that's one thing. The second thing is this is a disease, unfortunately, that's across the entire Hindu society. It's not just the chaplains. The chaplains are just a product of what the upbringing is in the community. In fact, if you look at it, there are multiple Indian organizations. At Rutgers, there are 20 Indian Hindu organizations, okay? Dance groups, bhakti groups, all this stuff. And none of them will ever stick their neck out for the Kashmiri Pandits or anything like that because they just don't want to be seen by their colleagues or by their friends as these political, right-wing, extremist Hindus and stuff, when it's nothing about extremism there anyways. We are not saying that, Muslims are bad or Christians are bad or anybody. We're just saying that we respect all the traditions. We just want our space to talk about our issues, just like any other minority does. So our entire society is just not conditioned in the right way. So it's not the chaplain's issue anyways. It's a broader Hindu society issue. And it's about money.
Yes, I think parents are like that. People in the workplace are not willing to stick their neck out the way a Muslim would. If something is, if something happens and he's not happy about it, he'll get 3 or 4 of them together and they'll write a petition. So I found in my work that if there was a Islamophobia, then they would really get organized. The mosque would support them. The parents would support them. But here, in the case of Hinduism, the student is on his own. And it would take a lot of guts for a student to sort of face such a mighty establishment. Because he's a student, he just wants good grades, he wants to get through, he doesn't want to make any waves, that sort of thing, right? The Hindu students are mainly wanting to do well in academics and go out and get a career going. And they're not going to rock the boat.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here and also hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified. To donate, please click this button.